The Asante Otumfuo said to the second has initiated processes to help end the Boku Chieftaincy dispute. The feuding factions in the area have already honored separate invitations by the Menchia Palace. The conflict, which has persisted for decades, has resulted in loss of lives and property, stifling development in that area. Nana Ojima has more in the following report.
Research by the West African Network for Peace Building indicates 23 lives were lost in Boku conflict between January 31st and February 10th, 2023. Early this year, the installation of a new chief sparked violent disturbances in the area. Though efforts have been made in the past, including the deployment of military to solve the conflict, there have been no positive results yet. The Otumfuo spoke about the mediation efforts when the Minister for Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Stephen Asamoah Boateng, paid a courtesy call on him. I am still on the Boku issue. I have called all factions separately. In peace and in truth, we will sit and listen to the issues. Both factions will be allowed to speak out, so we solve the issues. Already, I have spoken to the leaders of the factions and other relevant persons. Some have submitted documents to be studied, so we will look into all of that. We will all sit in one room and solve the issues. I have asked them to lay down their weapons. In 2019, Asante helped resolve the 16-year-old Dagbon chieftaincy dispute. Chieftaincy Minister Stephen Asamoah Boateng revealed about 70% of community disturbances are traced to chieftaincy issues. He has welcomed the Asante intervention in the Boku conflict.
The money and the resource we are pumping into these areas is incredible. I've seen bills that we send police officers to go and separate the warring factions, and bills that come after they've left. Even it's incredible. These are money that we could use to develop and help the youth mostly. So we want to bring down the disputes, the number of disputes drastically. So I have segregated them to the short term and the medium and the long term. There are some which are long term, and the dispute has gone on for so long. The others that we can nib it in the bud very quickly, and then we have peace. So for Otumfuo to take over, especially Boku, for us as a government, we are very, very happy. The president has given the go-ahead, and I have also been supportive. And for today, publicly, has even told us how he's met the factions, and at some of the meetings he will call me to witness what's going on. But we leave it to him. He has the wisdom, he has the knowledge, he understands the issues so well, and he has the capacity to bring the warring factions. I'm very happy. It's taking the pressure off the government a bit and off my shoulders as well, and I trust he can bring peace to Boku.
For Joy News, Nana Ojima, Kumasi.
Speaker of Parliament Alban Dagbon has called on all to join hands in building Ghana as a nation where merit is rewarded, adding there is a need for all to support the building of a nation and not just a country. The Speaker was speaking when he paid a courtesy call on the Nairi as part of activities marking the 30th anniversary of Parliament.
The Speaker kick-started the 30th anniversary celebration activities in the northern region with meeting the press. The Speaker was accompanied by members of Parliament and staff of Parliament. Speaking at the Nairi, Honorable Alban Dagbon said every single Ghanaian has a role to play to ensure the nation develops.
We need your presence there. We need your voice. We need your ideas. We need your wise counsel to guide us to do what will work better than what we have now, and what will work to satisfy every Ghanaian. We want every Ghanaian to be included in this matter, so that at the end of the day, nobody will be left out. Nobody will feel cheated. No area of the country will feel that they are not getting a fair share of the national cake. We want to live together as a family, a nation, not just a country, a nation where merit is rewarded. We are working towards one thing, and that is why I am here, your son and the humble servant of Parliament, to inform you about this development, and more importantly, to see how we can work together, not to leave the governance of the country in the hands of only politicians, but to make sure we give a prime place to the traditional leaders, your majesties, the people of experience, of intellect, of wisdom, how we can get space for the religious leaders, the people through whom we get across to our Maker, the Almighty Allah, how we can get space for civil society leaders to work together with the politicians to make sure that the right thing is done.
The King of Mampurubu, Na Wahago Abdullahi Mahmi Sherga, on his part, said the speaker is a great role model the youth must emulate.
Say that your message has been reconciliatory. You are not showing wealth, you are not showing the power that God has given you. You are so accommodating. And that is what your followers, those who have followed you in this family, should also emulate.
At the seat of Dagbon, the speaker said the identity of every human being is the greatest value God has given each and every one.
I believe in creation, and I believe God created all of us with potentials, and these potentials are honed by your tradition, your culture, the society in which you are brought up, particularly the informal education we receive from our parents when we are young. It is from this that the others are added. Formal education and this sort of Western education that we have been introduced into. And so traditionally, I adore our leaders, our kings, our fathers, our mothers, and you will always see me in the traditional dress. That is what we are made of. The identity of every human being is the greatest value God has given to you. Once you lose that identity and become part of the mob, you have not much value.
Registrar of Dagbon Traditional Council, Al-Hassan Fatau, who read the speech of the Yana, said the Dagbon Traditional Council was reviewing its constitution as part of strategies to develop the area.
It is refreshing to note that the Dagbon Kingdom, in its efforts towards tackling our development challenges as well as attracting development partners, has put together some strategies aimed at facilitating issues regarding development of the area. The steps include the review of the 1930 Dagbon Constitution, which has been in use for the past 100 years. I am glad to inform you that the all-inclusive constitution review processes are completed and approved by the Dagbon Traditional Council and the Northern Regional House of Chiefs. The reviewed constitution is currently before the National House of Chiefs pending approval. Right Honorable Speaker, I wish to use this opportunity to appeal to you to ensure that all necessary steps are put in place for its approval when it finally gets to Parliament.
Government says it has taken note of reportage on the state of potholes across key road networks across the country, and it's putting in a number of interventions to resolve the challenge.
Potholes have been developed in the southern part of Runabout and northern part of Runabout are being developed. So we are waiting for eastern part of the Runabout to develop, which I think that it's a serious thing that we ought to look at. Unfortunately, we can't tie the reason why we can't do this route to Russian and Ukraine war and COVID. We can only tie it to the fact that it's a critical route that needs to be maintained.
That's Charles Mintaba, a social commentator in the Western region, lamenting how deplorable the Parkground roundabout is currently.
This route is critically important, as I cited. As we stand here, if you want to go to any part of the city, you can go, because all roads coming from any part of the city, New Tarkoradi, Sekendi, Vodafone, ECG, town, link up to the Parkgrounds. So that is why I think that it is so critical that we cannot waste time. We have to forgo other areas and ensure that this is fixed concerning the critical nature of this route.
The Parkground roundabout is a very critical route in the Sekendi Tarkoradi metropolis. It connects most part of the city to the Tarkoradi harbour, two important hospitals, the Gapoa and European hospitals. It also connects the ECG regional office, the GMPC operational headquarters, GASEM, and the main market centre, among several other important places in the metropolis. The sad story, however, is that the stretch is riddled with potholes. This hole was once small, but it was ignored for several months and has now widened into a huge one, best described as a king-sized bed capable of accommodating more than 2 adults. There's even one that has deepened and collects so much when it rains that it looks more like a swimming pool.
So this is the Parkground roundabout here in the Sekendi Tarkoradi metropolis, named after one of Ghana's founding fathers, Parkground, George Parkground. But as we speak, how do we as a country intend to honor his memory? What we've decided to do is to honor him with potholes. Like you see behind me, several potholes surround this roundabout. So in our estimation, the best way to honor someone who did his best for this country, Ghana, is to rather allow potholes to build up around a place we named after him.
Charles Mintaba is not happy.
So let's assume that Parkground was seated here alive. Will we allow this route to deteriorate to this state? There are people who will not want to pass here just because of the state of this road. So if we named this place after Parkground, and the actions and inactions of city authorities have gotten to a state that we cannot work on it, and people who would have passed here to honor Parkground don't pass here, what have we done to Parkground? And for me as a resident, that is what goes through my mind. We stood here just for the past 1 hour. You realize that there are some big trucks that they had to tow off from this place because of the deteriorating nature of the road. It has gotten it has gotten to a state that when it rains and you are in town, you have to decide to change your routes, because if you don't take time, you may be locked up here.
He wonders why authorities have allowed the Parkground roundabout to deteriorate to this level.
Because the money involved in fixing this route, I don't think that it is something that some individuals cannot do. But we are in a country that when you have your money to come and fix the road, they will tell you that city planners will have to. So what at all is the problem that city planners cannot fix now? Knowing the critical nature this road is. If you are coming from Sekendi, you have to use this route. If you are coming from Beach Road, ECG, GSTS road, you have to use this road. If you are coming from Ghana Telecom, you have to use this road. If you are coming from town, Market Circle, you have to use this road. If you are coming from New Tarkoradi, you have to use this road. So the question is that the critical nature of this road should not have potholes develop around a prominent person who we name after him, Pagran. And that is why I think that it is a state of emergency.
Driver John supplies mineral water in the metropolis. He says it is sad that all the officials of the region use this stretch but have looked on unconcerned.
What you say, good master? We have
complained about the pothole several times, but nothing is done about it. If some of my load had not been bought, all of it would have poured onto the road now. Meanwhile, we pay tax. The regional minister, the MPs, and other big officials use this road daily, but they seem not to care. We are really suffering, buying spare parts, especially our ball joints.
To protect their vehicles from slumping into potholes, some drivers have now resorted to climbing into the perimeter of the roundabout, destroying the curbs.
Being in second-D Tarkoradi, the capital of the region, yet look at the state of our road. Is it good? This is a disgrace. It must be fixed.
We are really suffering. When you move a little, your car scratches the surface of the road because of the potholes. The last time, my friend burst his sump here.
To Charles Mintaba, the city authorities must act quickly to get this fixed.
So I appeal to city planners, urban routes, the regional minister and the metro chief executive that this is beyond where we have to allow you to consider the critical nature and why this place was named after a very important person. For Ghana's independence cannot be discussed unless it is linked up to Pagran. And Pagran roundabout cannot be discussed unless it is linked up to the major roads of this city. That is the need where there's an emergency, there's a need for us to work on it.
When will authorities intervene and solve these challenges? Your guess is as good as mine. From the roundabout, the Pagran roundabout in second-D Tarkoradi, for Joy News, I am Samuel Kojo Brace.
Let's now go to my colleague Samuel Mbora, who joins me live with more. Mbora, where are you and what can you report from where you are?
Well, Asha, if you can hear me, the statement from the Ministry of Roads and Highways says that measures are being put in place to address critical sections of the road which have been or which have gone bad throughout the country upon the onset of the rains. For instance, in Accra, maintenance works are currently ongoing at the Teshi Stretch and Fertilizer Road as well. Motorists and the public are therefore advised to follow the traffic management and safety measures put in place at the locations where the works are ongoing. The statement from the ministry ends by reiterating the commitment of the ministry to providing a well-maintained road infrastructure responsive to the needs of Ghanaians.
So are there timelines to this statement?
The ministry has not attached any timeline. It has only indicated so far the roads that they are working on in the Greater Accra region, which I referred to earlier, the Teshi Stretch and Fertilizer Road. They said they are going to do this across the country. So as and when the work begins, they will definitely share the list of the roads that they are working on to fix the potholes.
Right. That's Samuel Mbura with a statement from government on the pothole situation across the country. This is after Joy News highlighted the devastating nature of potholes on some roads across the country. We'll be monitoring to see as and when government fixes these potholes. We'll be bringing the results to our viewers. Well, government has also started rolling out interventions aimed at resolving challenges bedeviling the One District, One Factory program. This comes after Joy News aired the One District, Some Factories hotline documentary a couple of months ago. One of the factories which was badly affected and highlighted in that documentary was the PEP cylinder manufacturing company located at Ewutu. Over 200,000 cylinders were locked up at the factory because the company was facing an unhealthy competition from a foreign company. The producer of the documentary, Richard Kwejanyako, went back to the factory and now reports.
And so now, if you come to our factory, you'll be shocked. We are now getting to almost close to 200,000 cylinders. We cannot send one out because of what these guys are doing. These Chinese, they just came in, took over the market, cut the price down, and probably they are doing this for some time. So they realize that the Ghanaian factories have died down.
This was the situation with their PEP cylinder manufacturing company, one of the companies under government One District, One Factory located at Ewutu. The company was limping badly, and the thought of shutting it down became very imminent.
China developed their country, they blocked everybody, and they developed their country. Deliberate policies, protecting themselves and making sure they got to where they are. Now they are rich and they are now hitting us.
The chief executive of the company was distraught, broken, and felt all hope was lost. But today, the narrative has changed.
So it's been 3 months after Joy News premiered our hotline documentary, One District, Some Factories. We are back here at the PEP gas cylinder manufacturing company here at Ewutu.
Following your documentary recently on the challenges that we're faced with, by the grace of God, as we speak, our stock levels have gone down. The markets have started responding. Your documentary got the government to take some actions, and as we speak, now the pricing levels have come to a normal level, and so we are all playing in the field. They are still in the markets. We are competing, but this is what we expected competition should be all about, not for somebody to be unduly be taking advantage. So we are grateful to you and also grateful to the government for taking these immediate steps and bringing us back to life.
The workers are busy putting metals on metals to produce the cylinders. The CEO, Philip Asifo, couldn't thank Joy News enough for producing the documentary that has changed a situation that affected the economies of the local community and the businesses of many.
The information I got was that the president himself saw the documentary and he wasn't happy at all about what he saw. So immediately he tasked some officials in government to ensure that the issues are resolved. And as we speak, not completely resolved, but at least to the extent that we are now able to enter the market and do our business, I think we are on course. They've also lined up a number of things they are working on our behalf. We hope everything will actually materialize. So I think so far the documentary has really sparked a very good reaction on our behalf.
The intervention by government is like a pain relief to them.
The government made some actions that were taken, some decisions that were taken that has somehow brought down the behavior or the misbehavior of these, if I should put in a better way, some form of invaders who attempted to destroy the markets. Before the documentary, there were some initiatives, there were some actions that the government had started, but immediately you aired the documentary, as a matter of fact, we saw some speed. We saw some direct interventions. As we speak, government is even making it possible for us to get some off-taker from government, also to sort of boost our supply. So these are efforts that are coming as a result of your initiative, your documentary, and I think we would appreciate that.
The workers the company contemplated laying off are now back in business. The stocks level has gone down, and the company is thinking of expansion.
Brother Richard, it's not just us APEB, but we must also at least congratulate you for what you did. At least at the end of the day, your work has also sparked these reactions. Today, the company is now working, and so by the grace of God, all these our workers are also, actively doing something. This is what we want. So what you did has now brought back the workers. At least is now keeping people fed in their homes. That is the kind of work you have done. That is the extent of what you have done. A number of workers, almost close to getting to 250 workers. Now we are even now moving to the level of expansion. As we speak, we have other arrangements to move to other areas. So that should tell you the effects of what you have done. We thank you for that also. We thank the government for the intervention, but most especially your intervention has actually brought about a lot.
Joy News has been exploring other interventions government has put in place to bring the dead factories and the government 1D, 1F back to life. For Joy News, Richard Kwejunya report.
We'll be going to the University of Ghana for the roundtable on the electronic technology and its impact on elections in Ghana very soon. But right now, exodus of health workers in the 5 northern regions remain a challenge, even though access to primary health care had improved from 40% in 2017 to 85% at the end of the first quarter of 2023. Government is attributing the improvement to the enhanced capacity of community health workers, a measure put in place to attain universal health coverage. However, at the final dissemination forum between Ghana Health Service and the Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA, in Accra, the Upper West Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Damien Punguyiri, said attrition is still a challenge. My colleague Carlos Caloni has more.
Fast-track universal health coverage, the Ministry of Health commenced the Strengthening Health Systems program through the Organization of Communities project in 2017 with the support from the Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA, in the 5 northern regions of Ghana. 6 years on, access to healthcare gap has jumped from 40% in 2017 to 85% in 2023. The number of trained community healthcare professionals also witnessed an increase from 574 in 2017 to 1,706 at the end of first quarter of 2023, representing a net gain of 1,132. Revealing this to Joy News at the final dissemination forum between the Ghana Health Service and JICA in Accra, the Upper West Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Damien Punguyiri, called for sustainability in the gains made so far.
We were around 40% in 2017. As at the end of the first quarter in 2023, we are currently around 85%. That is a remarkable improvement over where we came from. In terms of human resource capacity for service delivery, at the beginning we had 574 community health officers. We are dealing with about 1,706 CHOs who have been trained from the interventions of this program.
In spite of these gains, Dr. Punguyiri lamented the exodus of health professionals as a major challenge hampering the attainment of the universal health coverage in the regions.
It has to do with better conditions elsewhere. You know, after the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of them are moving to UK, US, you know, for better opportunities. Others are also living down south because those areas have at least better schools and access to social amenities. So there is internal exodus and then external exodus.
Deputy Minister of Health Asesini said the chief's compound concept would be scaled up to ensure improved retention of health workers.
So the ministry is trying to develop incentives that will let the nurses stay there and work. And with this JACA issue, we are now going to scale it up so that they can provide some basic logistics at areas where they put the chief commands there. So we are trying to make sure that apart from building the structures, also make sure that the people who work within the structures should be well accommodated, given all the necessary amenities, and all the necessary logistics and medicine should be available.
On her part, the Chief Representative Officer of JICA in Ghana, Momoko Suzuki, noted the agency will continue its collaboration with the government of Ghana to help improve retention of health workers.
Well, I think all the stakeholders understand the challenge, and also the GHS sees the challenges. And I think it's something that also the Ghanaian side has to think about how we can retain the staffs in the communities, in the villages. So in the next project, we'll be having an advisor, but we will think together on how we can solve this big challenge.
So even though successes have been chalked in the 5 northern regions, there still remain challenges that the government should consider to close in terms of exodus of health professionals up north. Reporting from the forum here in Accra, my name is Carlos Caloni for Joy News.
We can now go to the High Court now, where the High Court has restrained the Office of the Special Prosecutor from arresting former Secretary of the defunct Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, Charles Bissue. Our man, Joseph Akable, is there for us. We'll be trying to reach him to get more from Joseph Akable on why the High Court took this decision. Let's take a break on Joy News Desk, though. We'll be back with more. Welcome back to Joy News Desk, to the rest of our stories. And of course, the High Court has restrained the Special Prosecutor from arresting former Secretary to the defunct Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, Charles Bissue. I mean, this has been a raging story through over a few days now since Charles Bissue was declared wanted. We'll be getting our court correspondent, Joseph Akable, to tell us more on how the High Court arrived at this decision. And to other stories, President Nana Akufo-Addo has eulogized the late Ama Ata Aidoo for her tremendous contributions to Ghana and Africa's development. He described the renowned playwright and poet as a big Ghanaian and one of the outstanding writers of her generation. The iconic writer passed away in the early hours of Wednesday, May 31, 2023, at the age of 81. The president announced a state-assisted burial for the late writer at the Jubilee House when the family informed him of her demise.
You brought sad news to me, to the country. I knew this lady quite well. We were contemporaries at the university. We met as young people when we were both at Legon. And from that time until her passing, we maintained a reasonably good relationship. I was one of her admirers. Outstanding writer and advocate, the women's cause, the cause of Africans, the progressive people around the world. I think she brought a lot to our country by her works, by her personality, and by the causes that she stood for. So I think it's appropriate that you should come here to announce a death to the president. This is one of the distinguished Ghanaians of our generation. It's appropriate that you should come here to make this announcement. I'm happy that the arrangements you have made for her funeral are ones that I can, the Thursday the 13th, I will be able to join in the lying state. And I think even before you came here, it would be my decision that she should be given a state-assisted funeral. She deserves it. It gives the opportunity for myself and the people of Ghana to pay our due respects and express our appreciation and gratitude for her life.
Let's now take you to the University of Ghana, where there's a roundtable discussion on electronic technology and the future of elections in Ghana.